And at times it seems like it's so easy for me to speak. And I know we go into third world countries. It's so easy for me to speak about this because you say, look, you're dressed fine, you're eating well. You don't have the problems that I'm facing, which is a true statement. But something that I've learned, and the Lord has reinforced it in my soul, is that there's never a right reason to sin. There is never a right reason to sin. We may try and justify after we've done it, but there's never a right reason to lie. There's never a right reason to cheat. There's never a right reason to steal. There's never a right reason to disobey. Never a right reason. See, we're dealing with us who can shift so quick. And God is moving on hearts to let us know that you don't have to do that. You say, well, Pastor, if I'm in a third world country and all I have is my body to sell, how am I going to make it? You see, you're worried about the exterior first. Don't you know that the God that we serve can save your soul and put you into a place where you will have more than enough in order to provide for your needs and those of your families? You say, well, you're speaking from your affluent position. I'm talking to you about the internet. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm speaking from the reality of life. When I grew up, it was 8 of us in the home. Didn't have no dad. Didn't know who the dad was for a long, long time. Mama had to provide for us, all 8 of us. But thank the Lord that she knew a godly white-haired grandmama that could believe God. And all grandmama had was a Social Security check and a retirement check that was coming from her late husband, which really wasn't a whole lot, folks. We'd go to her house, and eight kids can eat a lot. Don't let anybody tell you that you know, 8 kids can't eat. 8 kids can eat a whole lot. 2 kids can eat a whole lot. Yes, Lord. Amen. And with the cost of food today, spending $400 a week on grocery bills, that's nothing. And we'd be at grandma's house, and even though grandma knew how to stretch stuff, I mean, she knew how to water down the gravy, and she knew how to, oh, yes, Lord, hey, if you've never been through that, you can't relate to that. But, brother, I know what it is to have stuff stretched. But she would face times which she just didn't have money for. She didn't know what to do except go to the Lord. And without fail, God would somehow open a door, somehow move a mountain. And folks, I want you to understand something. When you're talking to God, asking God to bless you, when asking God to move on you, asking God to help you, do not always think that the help will be instantaneous. You see, we give up because we don't get that instant help. We get that Mac faith. You know, you drive up to the window, so can I have a Big Mac and French fries, and, you know, by the way, give me a Coke on the side. You know, we like it. But when you pray and call on God, things don't always come instantly. Sometimes they do. When you have an emergency, and it's a real emergency to God, you better believe He'll come through for you. But sometimes our emergencies are not emergencies with God. In fact, He's the one that allowed it in your life. You say, why would God allow me to go through this? To show you how big He really is. God is a bad God, folks. He's a good God. I tell you, there's none like Him in the heavens or earth. He's a provider. He's a deliverer. He's a helper. He's a blesser. God will stand by your side. God will walk with you. You that are facing gang-infested neighborhoods and you're scared to go outside of your house, God will be your bodyguard. Nobody can throw down like the Lord. Nobody can whoop some rear end like the Lord. The Lord will get things right. Hallelujah. He's a cloud by day and pillar of fire by night. So you that are in that situation I just described, that are watching by the internet, Lord somehow will make a way. Somehow will make a way. Somehow will open a door. But dear sister, this just happened a few days ago, and I got to get into my story. All she had was $20.98. No job at all. None. In her bank account, $20.98. That's it. She had applied for job after job. This is in the U.S. of A. She had applied for jobs. And folks, jobs in the United States are almost as hard to find as hen's teeth. If you know anything about poultry, hens don't have no teeth. And she didn't know what to do. She prayed and called on the Lord, and I don't understand why God would just let us get backed up into a corner sometime. He'll take away all options for us. We have nothing to do but trust the Lord. That's it. And she said, Lord, I don't know what to do. And the Lord told her, the Lord moved her heart in her crisis situation and said, take 20 of that dollars you have in your checking account and invest it in my work. Lord, I have one in 98 cents left, God. She said she knew it was the Lord. See, many of us, God wouldn't do us like that because, brother, we'd leave the church. I mean, we'd walk out. No. But she obeyed him. The next day, and I'm not saying it always happens like this, but the next day, she got a call on the phone from the job agency that had turned her down and said, we are hiring you. And she called back and gave a testimony of look what the Lord has done. Oh, look what the Lord has done. I'm telling you that if you prove God, God will come through for you. In the book of Malachi, it says, prove herewith if I will not open up the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing on you. See, when we take it out of our hands and put it in God's hand, we're saying, God, you said it, now it's up to you to do it. I trust you to do it, God. I trust you to save my family. I trust you to provide for me. I trust you to open doors. I trust you to move mountains. I trust you to speak to my heart. I trust you to divinely protect me. I trust you, God, to make a way. I trust you, Lord, to do great and mighty things. My trust, my hope, my faith is in the Lord and nothing else but the Lord. And God will come through for you. Let me read this before time gets away. Trust. We say we trust God. In the book I wrote, the second book, The Building of a Church, I took something out of it that I think will help you. It was written by a man, his name is Ralph Nagart. And the title of it was Actions That Speak the Truth. He went on to write, he said, I just finished watching a television program that outlined the early age that teenagers are having sexual relationships. 55% of girls and 55% of boys between the ages of 15 to 19 have lost their virginity. This was a few years ago. This was about 10 years ago that this was taken. Now it's even higher. And the numbers of the young girls and the young boys, age-wise, has even dropped. Now the young girls and the young boys are in the 10-year-old range where they have lost their virginity. And what has contributed to that is television and the movies. Television and the movies. And they've had a lot of games that have come out also that are sexually oriented in nature, that the young kids are watching hours and hours and hours of, and it's feeding their subconscious, and they want to go out and try what they have seen. See, one particular girl who was very outgoing, an excellent student, and a consistent church attendee who sang in the choir had been sexually active since the age of 13. When asked how she justified her religious beliefs with her actions, she replied, I try not to think about it. I do not connect them. Religion is one thing and sex is another. Unfortunately, many people in our world have great difficulty connecting religion with their everyday action. Jesse James killed a fellow in a bank robbery and shortly thereafter was baptized in the Kearney Baptist Church. He then killed another man, a bank cashier, and joined the church choir and taught hymn singing. He liked Sundays, Jesse did, but he could not always show up at church. On 2 Sundays, he robbed trains. The Bible is very clear about how God has to be a part of every action and decision that we make. The struggle of right belief and religious traditions has existed since the time of Christ. In the New Testament, the Apostle Paul taught against a sect of people called agnostics, who thought that right beliefs in the mind really had no connection to the body and daily living. The mind and body were separate enmities altogether. When you sin, your soul sins. Even the vocabulary that some use today support the Gnostic view. We still talk about saving souls when in fact Christ wants to dwell in our total life. Paul wrote in the book of Romans, what shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? God